We need to work openly, with more transparency. We need to rethink how we work and make some fundamental shifts. I hear C-level executives say things like this all the time. Yet when it comes down to implementation, the shifts are rarely as deep and meaningful as they intended. It makes people like me clench our fists, raise them to the sky, and shout with frustration, why? Oh, why? Of course, I have to lock myself in the closet before I do something like that, so I don't look too foolish. And at the same time, I understand. The CxOs want it one way, but things like politics, traditions, and other invisible forces get in the way or slow down initiatives like this to a halt. I get it. I've seen it. I've lived it. I don't like it, but it is reality. I do believe, however, that if we understand the difference between what was intended and what is often delivered, we can try to shoot for the correct intervention and stay away from one of a lower quality. It took a lot of dissecting, but I think I found a way to explain the difference in a way that can motivate teams to shoot for the best rather than settle for what is easiest. It's called the Future of Work Change Matrix. On the x-axis is supporting structure. This encompasses technological, financial, moral, political, cultural elements of the overall structure that are there to support the action. On the y-axis is purposes and practices. Why is something being done? What is that? It is the purposes for which we are carrying out a certain action. It is more than just how we are doing something, but also the why we are doing it. Different whys lead to different whats. In the Status Quo Quadrant, nothing changes. It is the status quo. This is the default and fallback position. When things don't go right, this is the refuge employees seek. Always be watchful for the slip. It is dangerous and often toxic to change initiatives. The impossible quadrant doesn't actually exist in practice, but it does in theory. A new way of working with new purposes without the supporting structure will never actually happen. Rather, they will fall back into the status quo quadrant. The Transference Quadrant is where many companies land because they don't have what it takes to go to the top right. Rather than going for a big win, they go for the mediocre win. The win that is far less difficult and thus far less effective. It looks like there was a big change, but all they did was take the same purpose and move it to another place. The Transformants Quadrant is where the future of work lives. New purposes with a new supporting structure. It also looks at new ways and purposes of working. And the Transformational Quadrant lives on different characteristics. It doesn't play by the same rules. The danger comes when shooting for the Transformational Quadrant is that it's easy to become weak in their resolve and make a real change. They realize that it might take going out on a limb and risking some credibility or political clout. I've seen some not make the change because they thought their budget would be lowered, even though the overall net gain would have dwarfed the budget loss. There is a pull to the familiar, to the less risky, and that pull is either down to the Transference Quadrant or back to the status quo. When evaluating your next big move, decide which it needs to be, the transference or transformational. If it's transformational, make sure you identify new work purposes and new characteristics, and the new supporting structure to support you. In fact, make sure everyone on your team understands the characteristics of that quadrant, so they know what to shoot for. And then, don't give up. To get a more comprehensive understanding of this matrix and how to use it and how it can benefit you, click on the link below and it will take you to the original blog post.